Public relations is a more recent field of journalism, but has a rich history. People used PR methods long before they recognized it as a field. As Dennis Wilcox and Glenn Cameron discuss in their book, Public Relations Strategies and Tactics, Harvard College published a brochure in 1641 to use for fundraising, but the first PR agency, the Publicity Bureau in Boston, wasn't established until 1900. In this vidcast, we will be discussing 4 important events in the history of PR and how they are relevant to the present. We will then predict a future communication tool for public relations.
According to Wilcox and Cameron, Ivy League was one of the first public relations councils and is known for working with the Rockefellers following the Ludlow Massacre in 1914. According to the Colorado Bar Association, the massacre was an event in which 25 men, women, and children were killed by the Colorado National Guard. This occurred after miners for the Colorado Fuel and Iron Company plant, owned by Rockefeller, tried to join the union and went on strike. They were evicted from their company homes and lived in a tent colony. It was here that the massacre occurred, with shots fired and tents set aflame. To fix Rockefeller's tarnished image, Lee stressed the idea of transparency, or being open with the public. After the massacre, Lee, according to Wilcox and Cameron, did some research and talked to both sides on the issue. He found that labor leaders were talking to the press, but the executives were not, making the issue one-sided against the company in the press. In response, Lee formulated informational bulletins to be distributed to opinion leaders he knew would influence public opinion. There were 19 in all and sent to 19,000 people. He also convinced Rockefeller to visit the plant with the media present to humanize him. The visit led to changes in policy and more benefits for the workers. Wilcox and Cameron stressed that transparency, as Lee used, is still an extremely important aspect of PR. The public wants to know what's going on in an organization.
Another founding father of public relations was Edward Bernays. One of Bernays' famous PR stunts was propaganda for women's rights to publicly smoke in 1929, which you can see in this following clip. Edward Bernays on propaganda and public relations on Observation Springs channel on YouTube.
He persuaded a group of rich debutantes to hide cigarettes under their clothes. Then they should join the parade, and at a given signal from him, they were to light up the cigarettes dramatically. Bernays then informed the press that he had heard that a group of suffragettes were preparing to protest by lighting up what they called torches of freedom.
As you can see from the clip, Bernays' use of the media to control propaganda on suffrage issue was highly influential. He persuaded the media to cover an issue they normally wouldn't have, and he got them to do it for free. This is reminiscent of modern media advisories. According to Dennis Wilcox in Public Relations Writing and Media Technique, media advisors let the media know about upcoming events and what they should cover. The difference is that Bernays did not admit to a role in the organization, but acted as a third party giving a tip to the media.
Moving forward, the evolution of public relations, an interactive timeline created by Dr. Wise Gerber's Intro to PR class at St. Edward's University, marks August 6, 1945 as a day of importance. On this day, the first atomic bomb was dropped, and President Truman sent out a press release using powerful language to praise the scientific achievement and hopefully lead the public to believe that the right decision was made.
Closer to the present day, one of the most well-known crisis management cases occurred in the 80s concerning Johnson & Johnson. Sotirios Zoulas, president of Zoulas Communications, recounts the crisis in his article, The 1982 Tylenol Crisis, a landmark case study in effective public relations. 7 people in the Chicago area died after taking Tylenol capsules laced with lethal amounts of cyanide post-production. This could have been detrimental for business, but what many remember about this crisis was the good that came from it, and the steps Johnson & Johnson took to resolve the issue. Their management not only kept them from suffering outstanding financial hardships, but actually gained them customers. As soon as a connection was made between the deaths and Tylenol, Johnson & Johnson assumed the worst and recalled all the Tylenol in the nation, about 31 million bottles, and ceased advertisements for the product. They then implemented changes in packaging to prevent future tampering. While recalling the product cost the company more than $100 million, consumer safety, not profit, was their top priority, which increased their trustworthiness. They gained the respect and business of the public. Their honesty, speed, and consumer concern in this crisis is still an example of what to do in crisis situations today.
Today, social media is an important part of PR. You can Facebook countless businesses and follow them on Twitter. It promotes instantaneous communication. It is for this reason why we predict the use of social media and a virtual world, such as a Second Life, could influence the way PR handles crisis communication. We predict that within 20 years, there will be a new site that recreates the crisis in question. People through avatars can meet with a PR specialist at the crisis spot and be guided through the situation. With the aid of 3D cameras, the virtual world could look more realistic rather than computer-generated. It will be the ultimate form of transparency and two-way communication. It would help the media and public understand what happened and understand the company's management plan.